Introduction: Research Design and Rationale: A Selection of Participants by Valeri Reaves, PSY635, Research Design and Methods. Instructor, Dr. Kendra Jackson. The purpose of this presentation is to explore the research protocol with respect to the topic of selection of participants, scientific method, research designs and methods, and literature review will be discussed. The scientific method consists of 5 steps. Define the problem, form a hypothesis, research and collect data, experiment, and draw a conclusion. The researcher must identify what information is being sought from the study, then form a question to guide the research data collection. The research question relevant to the proposed research project is as follows. Does the research design dictate the selection of participants? The hypothesis is that a research design, by its structural requirements, will identify the characteristics and number of participants needed to successfully conduct the research project. On the topic of selection of participants, Skidmore provides that true experiments must have 3 essential characteristics: random assignment to groups, an intervention given to at least one group, and an alternate or no intervention for at least one other group, and a comparison of group performances on some post-intervention measurements. Regarding methods, Chanel asserts that the complexity of research lies in the matter to be studied, especially in naturalistic and exploratory inquiries. If the method is overly complicated, then its many parts and phases might overwhelm the subject being studied. When complexity meets complexity, the results are usually a muddle. Embracing simple yet effective procedures is an optimal goal. There are 3 types of research studies that are generally delineated by the reason the research is being conducted. Quantitative is the study of numbers and statistics. Qualitative deals with individual perspectives. Mixed method is a combination of both quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative experimental methods are pretest, post-test, control group, post-test only control group, and Solomon 4 control group. Also involved in the methods are descriptive, correlation, quasi-experimental, and experimental designs. Qualitative methods are ethnography, phenomenology, grounded theory, narrative, and participatory action research, also known as PAR. The designs involve interviews, observations, projective techniques, case studies, and focus groups. Mixed methods are explanatory, exploratory, and triangulation in both sequential and concurrent methods. Creswell developed 6 mixed method design strategies: sequential explanatory design, sequential exploratory design, sequential transformation design, concurrent triangulation design, concurrent nested embedded design, and concurrent transformative design. There are three types of approaches to research: abduction, which focuses on interaction between general and specific; deduction, which focuses on general to specific; and induction, which focuses on specific to general. The proposed research study design, utilizing the research protocol. The potential title would be, which comes first, design or sample size? The expected outcome is to illustrate adequate sampling and generalization sampling derived from research design. The theoretical framework is hypothesis. Research objective is general and specific. The methodology is mixed method, concurrent nested embedded design. And the intervention is participation, to withhold half of the 40-person sampling size from participation in pretest, including all for the post-test. Cross-referencing results to determine if generalization and validity are improved with full group or not. The primary concern is the selection of participants, and the secondary concern is the quality of selected participants. Rationale. The method that would be most useful to answer the research question would be a mixed method, specifically the concurrent nested embedded design. This method is justified because the original research question could be addressed. Then a secondary approach could be to ask the question if the selection of participants was adequate. The dominant method for my proposed study would be the quantitative method. The number of the selected participants for my proposed research study would have to be adequate enough to conduct a successful research project. The quality of the number of the selected participants is important, but would be secondary to having an adequate pool of participants. There are three ethical considerations, issues, and standards for this proposed research project. In Section 8.04 of the APA's Ethical Principles of Psychologists and Codes of Conduct, an ethical consideration for the research project would be to protect the participants from adverse consequences of declining or withdrawing from participation. In Section 9, that psychology professionals should take into consideration the participants' culture, testing ability, language fluency, and environmental situation when completing assessments, as well as being well versed and, if appropriate, certified to administer the test. The researcher should be well versed in cultural diversity pertaining to the dynamics of cultural and environmental influences. In Section 3.04, the APA's Code of Conduct Ethical Guidelines provides that psychology professionals should avoid harm in conducting the survey and interview required for the proposed research project. A participant may experience mental and/or emotional harm of reliving unpleasant or traumatic experiences and feelings. The researcher is responsible to provide restorative therapeutic services for the participant to process their mental and emotional challenges. Ethical considerations. Plan to address issues. The plan to address the ethical issues are as follows. The researcher is responsible to provide restorative therapeutic services for the participant to process their mental and emotional challenges. The researcher should be well versed in cultural diversity pertaining to the dynamics of cultural and environmental influences. Where applicable, they should be certified and/or licensed. In conclusion, the scientific method is utilized as a guide to ensure that all aspects of a research project are addressed. The research question is created to establish the purpose of the research project. The research question also serves to identify what type of data will be most appropriate to answer the research question. The type of data sought is then applied to the various research approaches, designs, and methods, including sampling size. Once the data is collected, the findings are formed, results determined, and conclusions drawn. The importance of the research pertaining to the topic of selection of participants is to highlight the impact and influence that participants may have on the outcome of the research project. When selecting participants, not only must there be an adequate number of participants to address the types of studies being conducted, but it is also important to have quality participants that can fulfill the requirements while participating in the study, such as assessments, cultural, environmental, language, and technical proficiencies. The proposed research project will serve to illustrate how outcomes may be skewed if the wrong number or caliber of participants are selected. Why this research topic? Utilizing deductive reasoning, one could posit that the sampling size is determined by the research design in completing the aforementioned steps. Also, if the sampling size is adequate, then generalization and validity may be established.